we're reacting. Yep, today's gonna be a special one because we're gonna switch it up. Tomorrow's gaming, and today we're just purely reacting to one big mega thing, which is BlizzCon. Hopefully BlizzCon is good. If it's not, whatever. But its first one is it says 2 PM with PST. That's 5. There is 5 right now. Okay, I'm gonna actually look at the actual first.
I don't recommend it for Kyle, especially since he's
off the Diablo segment
Oh,
of
they
our
were.
show.
See?
And I am honored to be here on behalf of all of our Diablo fans to share the news and updates we have in store for you today. We've got a lot of Diablo to cover, and I hope you'll agree with me that it's a great time to be a member of this community.
Let's go back. All heroes will be free to play from now until March 20th at 2 PM. Oh, that's not bad. What was that? BlizzCon, join the conversation. Blizzard 30th anniversary exclusive. Shop at the collection. For this looks not bad. I really like the old Warcraft with the whole. Well, I don't like playing WoW. So, yeah. Well, it's not I don't like playing WoW. It's like I can't afford it. That's a little bit above my price tag for now. But I do want to one day jump into it. But anyways, what am I talking about? Well, Lich King. I played WoW. Well, not WoW. Fudge. Not World of Warcraft. Warcraft, the RTS, and love that. So this was really nice looking. And I just noticed his face again. Also, he's also looking at Blizzard. We're both like Blizzard stuff. No offense, I'm going to skip this because I don't want to get demonetized. For how long?
That all of my family play video.
Play.
Lots of cool stuff. But
And
a collection! Toledo!
rock and roll racing and black. Interesting. Wait, what was that? Blizzard Arcane Collection coming to both the BlizzardBattle.net, Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox. Nice. Well, this is WoW, like I said.
No matter take first, let's start with some Covenant Pro Night to War! The world has thrown a lot out.
Not too much interested in WoW
Master of the Bin
as of right now.
what?
The Primus is lost.
I've heard of the story because, he plays WoW. And, yeah. Always been interested because, I played Warcraft and...
Should have happened.
Yeah.
The vessel C. Dead.
Who is he?
They love these pets. A chance to adopt him.
Aw.
Pins Durner's World, or MSL.
Okay,
now
I
it's-
see what it is.
I could buy buffing. So, no fan
What's
and a
this for?
part of our
It's
lives.
still World of Warcraft. I'm guessing since it says the word classic.
Oh, what?
Classic?
Bring back the
We're truly a quick
Hearthstone.
look back at the year of the Phoenix. We added our first new class, the Demon Hunter, and ventured into the ruthless
Nice.
Outlands. Then we went to Skullman's Academy and got to explore dual class cards and their powerful synergies.
Yeah.
And with our third expansion of the year, we brought you Hearthstone's biggest update ever,
That's what they always
alongside
say.
the menacing old gods in Madness at the Dark Moon Fair. We launched a brand new game mode, Duels, that saw more than 10 million matches on its first day. We also introduced our long-awaited achievement system and made a significant overhaul to the rewards and progression within the game. Offering of you playing Ysera the Dreamer.
Ah.
You'll finally have for you receive her
Add
full
one of each dream card to your hand. Oh, cool.
of the spells.
And then Malagos the Spellweaver. Draw
It
a
is a
spell into
powerful
your hand. That's
threat.
cool.
Hopefully.
And then Deathwing Destroyer. Is
won't
that
leave.
Deathwing? What? Was it
He's
always
still
that?
using Hearthstone's original set of cards.
Okay.
So,
Your wits are great.
This is, yeah, forged in the Barrens.
the neutral, the famous,
Some interesting stuff.
including
But
opening ceremony.
just
To
trying to briefly go to
of our
Diablo.
show, and I am honored to be here, off with Diablo 4. And we've been truly humbled by your response.
Diablo 4, man.
We've kept in touch.
My
with
friend,
early updates, and
I have a
sincerely
friend who
appreciate
is very
the
interested.
thoughts
I'm not gonna
and
name him,
valuable
just in case
feedback
for
you've
his sake.
provided as we unveil
if he
more
doesn't
and more
want
of the
them,
game
whatever.
and
But
share in its development.
he loves Diablo
After all,
very much.
Diablo
And
belongs
Diablo
to you
3,
as
we used
much
to
as
play
it
it.
belongs to us.
So yeah.
The satire visual effect in a means.
Doesn't 10 cents. Let's see this. This is the trailer. The trailer that they showed was pretty interesting. With the I think I suddenly forgot her name, but the freaking when she expands her freaking wing. Oh, dude, that was beautiful.
May Akarat guide and protect me.
May he shepherd my soul
May he shepherd my soul.
and grant it mercy.
And granted mercy.
What are you doing here? This is not the time.
But this is confession. And I have sinned.
Someone's here.
I was a thief who stole from those more fortunate. I strayed from your light and found my trade in the shadows. They call it murder. I say, job well done.
Supposed to be some sort of assassin. This is supposed to be a class, I guess.
I am a thief, a heretic, a murderer, father. Will Akarat save me?
You mock our light. But those monsters were a scourge upon my flock. And you were the answer to their prayers.
What?
Then we are settled. And you owe me.
The name you seek is... Thank the heavens for you.
Heavens. I assure you, Father,
I just know she's missing her ear.
the heavens didn't send me.
Yeah, I thought so. She's one of the clowns. She's a rogue. Okay. Very classic. It reminds me of back when I used to play a lot of RPGs. Like called it rogue instead of like thief. Visually nice. Visually it looks very nice. What did Diablo 2 thing? That's been nearly 10 years. Of course, Diablo Immortal doesn't count. I'm sorry. I mean, I guess it could be a good. I heard good things about it, but just mobile, really, guys, like that's one class. Oh. Why do you have so much collection of views?
That soundtrack, you're not the babe.
I get it, you're a kinky little guy. Oh, hey, ow, that hurts. You have a fetish of some sort?
The sound of that ear getting pierced by the hook is so brutal. I feel like it's gonna haunt me for a long time.
Yeah.
I've been a huge fan of the Rogue ever since the original Diablo. Even seeing them come back as NPCs and mercenaries in Diablo 2's Rogue Encampment served as a great bridge between the games. With the setting of Diablo 4 being a larger
Still
world
miss the
than
Demon
we've
Hunter
ever
class. I
played
like
before,
that class.
we're excited to show you not just what the successors to the original rogues in the series have been up to since the fall of their order, but also what some of the other rogues in the world of Sanctuary might look like.
Oh shit.
The mantra for Diablo 4 has
Multi-stream.
been
Yeah, I forgot
customization
to do that.
first. And the Rogue takes this to a whole new level. Class, able to adapt to any situation. Our goal is to let you create the kind of Rogue that you want to play. Whether it's an unrivaled archer modeled after the original Sisterhood, or a cloak and dagger rogue from the darkest alley
So,
of
wait.
the original Sisterhood, or a cloak
Assassin's Creed, man.
and dagger rogue from the darkest alleys of Chaldeum. In Diablo 4, you will have the freedom to create the rogue that you imagine
He's
by
also watching, by the
customizing
way.
the looks, the background, and the playstyle of your character. Please stick around for our segment later today, where I'll be joined by other members of the Diablo 4
This
team
is very
to share a
interesting.
closer look at the rogue class, as well as some of the open world gameplay that we're bringing to the game. Spoilers, those severed ears are not just for show.
No.
Diablo 4 is not the only Diablo game we're talking about today. If you're looking for an authentic Diablo experience,
Just
unlike
make it
who
not
we've got you
mobile,
covered.
really.
Diablo Immortal has everything you'd expect from a AAA action RPG. From the visceral combat and epic loot to Diablo 3. Later today, from their early love of here.
Diablo 2 remake? They're doing Diablo 2 remake, maybe.
Yeah, we didn't confirm that. I watched the cinematic one.
Yep. Well, I'm a little bit because I was thinking the Overwatch one.
Oh, the Overwatch one already played?
No, it didn't. Like it was just on loading, right? But I'm like, wait a second. I should just watch the real one and then just see what they.
Well, I'm only happy because fucking they were like Diablo Immortal, and I was like, ah,
Yeah, I know. I was like, what? I don't give a crap. I was skipping it. I'm like,
I heard about this. It's nice. It's nice. I'm gonna say, I like that.
really?
I'm happy. I want the multiplayer modder support because multiplayer
After
doesn't
more
work on it
than
anymore.
20 years,
Sucks.
the
Only
Dark
thing is,
One,
it's Jalen Brack. Why the fuck
always
is he up there? Get the fuck down.
Diablo 2
Fuck,
is
man.
a landmark HD remaster of both the
Who
original
fucking
game
wants you
and
there?
the sprite-based classic that we
Yeah.
love,
Look at me,
brings
I'm
it into the
fucking
present
high-ranking
in
fucking
3D,
goddamn
utilizing up-to-date graphical rendering.
Also, I like his
technology.
T-shirt.
It
It's a
also
rainbow.
includes modernizing all 27 minutes of cinematics,
I don't know.
recreated shot for shot, with the explicit
The last
intention
one was a little fun.
of preserving
I'm-
both the look
The woman
Wait,
like,
is he gay?
of the original.
Or is he?
No, no, it's just,
Blizzard
I actually
has a
don't know.
long
I
history
just know,
of games
when they
that
do
were
shit
Like
like
I'm not trying to you know
think
I'm
about
not shit talking to
Diablo 2,
gays. No, like I'm just saying like, are you trying to be very political here, or are you actually
foundation.
gay, or are you just liking the fashion?
now.
Maybe he's looking at the version. I don't
Funny
know.
to think that
Because
some
I'm-
of you
It
won't
looks
even
it looks
warrant
very
authentic
his message
experience.
right now is showing
Every
very
play.
political message. You know
We
what I'm
want
saying?
everyone to relive their memories.
I couldn't. I'm not
experience
trying
the
to
game
interpret like
very
that,
first
but I'm
time
saying like I'm just want to see the reason. Like,
platform
is that just for fashion reasons?
So
Is
we're
that
excited
what's
to
the
bring
reason why you want
Diablo
that
2
shit?
Resurrection.
If it's just for fashion reason, I'm just gonna let
I'm
it
a little
go.
bit ahead,
And
just so you
console,
want to look careful. I'm also
along
going to get
with
changed, but
cross
I'm going to
progression.
keep listening, so.
Yeah, just
Those
as
of
long
you
like my camera's right now
Love
looking
the
like this.
original, and
So
just
you-
Wait, how wide is it?
worked more seamlessly
Um,
on modern computers.
It sees your
Bring
bed.
back
That's it.
all of that
Okay, so
nostalgia,
that's pretty good.
exactly as you remember StarCraft Remastered. Obviously, the Blizz we have teams.
Even though
It's even
technically
more
you
incredible.
can't get banned from
Think
this,
about the
but
people who can connect increasingly able to, no matter where they are in the world. The way people are increasingly able to games, cosplay.
Okay, I got caught up now. Do you want to order
It's been
food,
hard to imagine any of that.
guys?
30
Just
years
gonna order food quickly.
And at Blizzard,
Because I'm getting quite
that
hungry
is
and
what
I just
excites me.
I'm just gonna be reacting to this, and I don't want to, you know.
There is so much
Tomorrow.
that we're working on.
Tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah,
Some
because
of it
people
you
order
already
this
know
now.
about.
Let's order tomorrow.
The rest,
Okay. I was a little
we look
fucking
forward to
tired.
talking
I also
to you
don't
about
want to eat my
when the time
reserves
is right.
of bananas and stuff.
Just like the real world, the worlds of Warcraft,
Okay, I'm just gonna, yeah,
Diablo,
quickly.
StarCraft, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, and Hearthstone
Why is it so quiet?
are diverse, expansive, and full of potential.
This
We
guy's
are
very
not only
quiet. for some
iterating
reason.
He is. I have
the
almost a video on
experiences
full, but I can
you've come
barely
to expect from us,
So is Jay
we're
on
also
the right. Why the fuck is
exploring
he up there?
different ways to express
Why
our
are
worlds.
you up there?
Welcome
Okay, let's
more
we're doing order.
from more places into them. And we aspire to continue to lead on priorities like accessibility and toxicity control, and to continue supporting causes that have a positive impact on the real world.
Positive impact. That sounds.
We want to continue to bring
The way
those
Kyle
same
say it
feelings
sounds
of joy
so
and
political. I'm
achievement
so sorry.
that we all felt
Like
when
we're
we
just
first
making a
defeated the
positive image. Toxicity must be reduced. Like I'm like dude,
Is
like
he talking about the
because
fucking launcher or something?
we
Tell me
geek out
Overwatch shit. I don't give a
from
fuck.
those experiences with others.
yeah,
We
like
can't
so far they
see
announced
the
war.
similarities
They announced I mean
feel
Overwatch supposed to be
possible
technically next,
when we play together.
and then strategy.
Of course,
I'm
there
okay.
are
I'm
new
interested to see
Blizzard
what they're doing
worlds
with StarCraft.
that we
That's
haven't
what I kind of want
visited
to know about too.
Yeah.
quite
Like
yet.
that StarCraft.
And when we
So
do finally unveil those games
we're doing
and
what
experiences,
food do you want
our
exactly? You
hope
know?
is that you will see in them
What are you
what
feeling?
we do.
I don't know.
What,
That no
Korean
matter
food,
who
pizza?
you are or where
That's
you're
what I'm
from,
asking.
Pizza would be
they
cheaper.
are spaces
I'm just
where
like
you
how many
can
prices
create
and deals
new
they keep
stories,
having on.
I do
establish
owe
new
you, so
friendships, and make memories
yeah. Remember for
worthy
the
of lasting a lifetime.
energy drinks.
Give me Apex though.
So like,
Through it all,
yeah, it's
Our mission
fine. It's
statement
supposed to be a late
of
birthday,
being
anyways.
dedicated to creating the most epic
Well,
entertainment experiences,
If you want Korean food again,
along with our
I'll
core
take
values,
Korean food.
led by
Okay.
If you want,
gameplay
like, pasta or
first,
something like that, I'll take
will
that.
continue to guide our world.
Pasta?
I
On
don't
behalf
know.
of
I'm
everyone
trying to
at
think of
Blizzard.
food here.
Okay, I'll just
Thank you
order
for
a
your
Korean
journey.
food. If that's the case.
It works for me.
For me personally,
Not too bad.
it is the honor of my professional life to serve you,
Kimbap.
and the honor of all of us at Blizzard to be the caretakers.
Okay, I'm gonna order for myself. I'm gonna order some
are
fried rice.
so
Do
excited
you
for
want
what's to come this year,
what do you want? The
next year,
mayo chicken again,
and the next
or
30.
something new?
Yeah,
Now.
fucking give me mayo chicken.
What's
Wanna
coming
do
next
mayo
for the
chicken?
show?
Got it.
Well, it
Okay,
depends
I'm gonna try
on
to find-
where you watch. For those of you looking for
Yeah.
an update on Overwatch, check out the behind-the-scenes
I'm gonna
look
order.
into the
Do you want
development
mild, spicy,
Overwatch
season,
2
or seasoned chicken
over on
sauce?
their dedicated channel right after the conclusion of opening
All right.
ceremonies. There, you'll hear about Overwatch 2, new content, new features,
Jjajangmyeon. I
including
don't
new
know.
maps, hero
Jjajangmyeon.
missions, talent trees, and more of what we think will make Overwatch 2 a unique gameplay experience.
A unique
World of
gameplay
Warcraft,
experience. Come on.
Diablo, and Hearthstone, you'll get a closer look on their
Just,
respective
just show us the, show
channels.
us
And on
more,
the
man.
dedicated strategy channel, some StarCraft legends will be going head-to-head in epic
I
competition.
want some. Oh, I do
Once
want
again,
some of that.
Welcome to BlizzCon Live.
Pork? Why does it has
Be good to one another. Welcome home.
welcome home? Like
Before we kick things off, here's a little
he
something.
sounds really political,
Previous
and I'm like
BlizzCon.
saying don't make it political. Make it like don't be like like a corporate
Hey, thanks for
political
having us.
message.
We're Metallica. Thanks for having us at BlizzCon 2014. We would love to be there this year, but obviously can't be. So
The strategy section.
here we are, and this is for you.
Yeah.
We're Overwatch. You know what
What? Overwatch, according to the schedule, it's the opening ceremony, then Harvest at 30th anniversary, then 6:05 is when the World of Warcraft Burning Crusade, I think, comes up, then after that 6:35 is Diablo What's Next, 7 p.m. is when Behind the Scenes of Overwatch. Overwatch 2, yeah. Really, is that it? I swear if that's really it, I'm really yeah. No, I used to play the living shit. Like, my channel started out with Overwatch and Warframe. but mostly Warframe. I mean, not Warframe. Overwatch. You said it. You said the magic word. You all have phones, right? I'm gonna click Overwatch. Let's see if that happens. Yeah, no, there's nothing right now for Overwatch that came out. I'm watching it on BlizzCon. BlizzCon plays like 7 p.m. EST. 8 p.m. EST. I don't want to get messy. Yes, sir.
Take a look to the sky before you die. It's an
No, let me refresh.
Rock and roll, magic roll in the crumbling sky. Try to go with the soul when the roofters cry. Dream you now of the eyes with this mystery. The silence so loud. Crackle dawn, no one's gone. Send the will to pay. Now it's you who will pay. Blinding eyes to say. For whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. For whom the bell tolls.
I mean, in the Overwatch, I mean, in the BlizzCon website, the Blizzard website, it says 7 p.m. EST. 6:35. 6:35. That's when the Diablo one comes out. I hope I don't get freaking demonetized for this. No, for the I'm just saying that the whole.
Oh, Metallica for playing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I swear if I do, then, well, guess what? Buddy, you shouldn't have played that. Because there's some people watching this. And reacting. You know, that's a dick move. In my opinion. Huh? What?
I'm king of the world.
Well, if I get it, well, fuck. I'm gonna probably tell you. Which is stupid. Because why the fuck did you decide to play that shit? Warcraft 14. Warcraft Tides of the Tide of Diablo.
What can I do for you? What can I do for you? What can I do? Your death will.
Very good. Nuclear bomb detected.
Morta Vespa Gaia Inu.
Warcraft.
Strike this great engine.
You are not prepared. Frostmourne hungers for
There's a
your
Lich King.
soul.
Cataclysm. Man, brings back so much more.
Your time has come.
Kerrigan! Kim What the fuck happened? Jim! What happened to Jim? Diablo 3.
Strange.
That's a hard stuff.
Greetings to you. Seems you're ready for the real thing.
Alright, here's the storm, of course.
Watch your
Hey, look at me!
Oh, looks like we got an audience.
I'm getting good at this. I am in the groove.
turret online.
Ah, yes, I remember that strategy. Oh, bro, that's so much memory, man. See, that's Overwatch used to be so fun. I mean, the Blizzard games, sorry, used to be so fun. And now it's just like, they lost their magic. Oh boy. Nah, if only they don't be dumb. Don't fuck it up. Not hard to fuck it up, I think. Maybe. Just maybe. Just maybe it's not that hard to fuck it up. But I could be wrong. Now time for the World of Warcraft. Burning expansion. Burning Crusade. Whoops. That's a long time ago.
Welcome everyone to our deep dive panel for WoW Classic. I'd like to start with some introductions with these fine gentlemen with me and myself. I'm Holly Longdale. I'm the principal producer for WoW Classic. A little bit about my background. I spent 13 years working on EverQuest. I started as a game designer and eventually became the head of the studio for the EverQuest franchise. That said, I've always been a WoW player since beta. So this is obviously a dream come true for me, and I'm thrilled to be here with you.
I'm Patrick Dawson. I'm the production director for World of Warcraft. I've been at Blizzard for 15 years now, and have been on WoW for most of that time. Avid WoW player myself, and really excited to open up that dark portal again as we all step through it.
And my name's Brian Birmingham, and I'm the lead software engineer on WoW Classic. I've also been at Blizzard for 15 years. I started on World of Warcraft. I spent about 3 years on Hearthstone as well, and then came back to the World of Warcraft team to work on WoW Classic. And it has been a great joy to me to work on this team.
There's a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
So earlier we announced, yay, Burning Crusade Classic is coming. But there's a lot more to it. Let's take a look at the features, because wow. I mean, wow. Right? Wow. I was so excited by playing Draenei and Blood Elves. I played both, and I will say my heart's with Alliance.
Well, like it's been so long.
And I also took up jewel crafting on my Draenei Shaman. I wanted to corner the market. Just
so
the whole
long that I
notion
don't
of
even
having
know
items with sockets and just exploring that whole system. I'm also a bit of a systems nerd. So I completely lost my time for weeks in there.
The Burning Crusade, I remember being there back then. I mean, it was our first expansion ever. So all the new features was like this really cool moment of like, what's coming next, what's going to happen. And one of the things that, was pretty impactful to the game was Horde having Paladins and Alliance having Shaman. I mean, as an avid PvPer myself, I remember going back and trying to fight Shaman. I was Alliance back then. And just not understanding that class at all, because my team didn't have it. So like I try to poly them and then be like grounding totem. I didn't know what that was. And it's just like, why are Shaman immune to everything? I don't understand.
That's not what you said.
Yeah, no, I did.
No, you said they're cheating.
I understood polymorph druids, but Shaman, why? Like now I started to understand Shaman a little bit better. We got some of their benefits. I actually got to see totems being placed down on my side for once, and got to see the frustration of dealing with Bubble Hearth on the other.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing raids, we were always jealous of the Alliance having Paladins for Blessing of Salvation. Like people would be pulling aggro off me, and I'd be yelling at them like, "Wait for 3 Sunders!" And the Alliance is like, "No, it's no problem. Just go."
Yep. So hey, I mean, we were upset raiding like Razorgore without Earthbind. I mean, it really evened the playing field for both PvE and PvP, which was kind of cool. But there were a ton of new features and just abilities with this too. As we got to level 70 and got to experience new content and new things. I remember one of my first experiences with understanding what it meant for designed by Blizzard, right?
Oh,
Because I was an engineer, right? I wasn't a designer. I was working on like the live ops team at the time, and I was playing my class, avid player of Mage, and I sent this long email to Tom Chilton saying like, hey, here's what Mage needs.
The Dawson Manifesto.
It was a well thought out forum post. And what was in it was things like bring back invisibility, let's get a threat dump in the class. And I didn't even necessarily tie those two together, but he was like, that's a pretty good idea, let's get Mage's invisibility. And just knowing that skill was coming along with some other new stuff for Mages like the Molten Armor, the Ice Lances, was just really cool to see all this new stuff in Burning Crusade.
On the other side of that, I was really excited about Spell Reflect because I was really frustrated getting polymorphed and being able to like reflect that back on the mage.
As a mage, I was not excited for you to get
I bet you weren't. And there were even some PvE encounters that had abilities that you could reflect back. So I remember that was really fun to kind of find ways to time that and use it as a defensive ability as well.
I was a hunter.
Mm-hmm. I'm a hunter
also
now,
a hunter.
actually. Yeah, I've switched.
But I remember just chasing Beastmaster and just DPS.
Yep.
That was it. That was the chase, yeah.
Talking about that too makes me think of like the arenas and the arena system. That was a whole new world for us, with battlegrounds and the way they worked before. Like the way the matchmaking happened. Usually, I was pretty competitive in PvP, so I would either get in there and stomp the enemy team, who was just there to be casual, or even though like we were a good team, we weren't like the best of the best. So when we ended up going against one of those teams, it was just like, well, geez, we're just getting stomped now. This is tough. Arenas gave everyone an opportunity to play against equal-minded opponents, right? Mm-hmm. So if you were a little bit more casual, you get the opportunity to play against people who weren't maybe so competitive. Or if you were like cutting edge, go for it. Like try to be the best of the best. And what was great about that is it really it spawned an esport. Like that wasn't, we didn't design it for that. We just wanted people to have fun. But when we noticed like, hey, everybody's playing this, everybody's like competing in this, people are watching it, we had to embrace that. We started featuring it at BlizzCon, and we've been doing it every year since.
Yep,
it's really awesome.
I did a long time
I think one of my
ago
favorite
watching
things
BlizzCon,
to recollect was the exciting zones that you would travel through. One of my favorite memories was actually in the first zone, Hellfire Peninsula, and it was adventuring around in Hellfire Peninsula. going around and doing all those quests and always living in fear of the Fell Reaper. Because you'd be out there collecting parts from like a broken Zeppelin, and you'd be fighting off your Hellbores, and then all of a sudden you'd see the screen start to shake, and like these thump, 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 and then and you're like, oh my god, I gotta run, he's right on top of me.
Sound still haunts my dreams.
Oh, I know, yeah, it's terrifying.
Even in life, it's just feign death.
And then the payoff when you later go to Netherstorm and they give you the quest, they're like, could you get me a part from inside the Fell Reaver? You're gonna have to kill him. And you're like, that guy? Like that guy that used to terrorize me? They're like, yeah, I think you could take him now. And that was such an exciting payoff to be able to like bring that full circle and go back and see him again.
For me, I snuck into beta. I got really lucky because I could see the construction sign for some of the zones, and of course I ignored it and went and explored. So I remember running through Blade's Edge and just seeing dragon carcasses and skeletons impaled in the environment, and then moving on to Netherstorm. I just was blown away, even from Zangermarsh all the way through. Everything felt like its own world, and just to be able to go through that and just the delight of it and the epicness of it, and then you come up to Area 52. That's what I love about WoW, is you can have epic storylines and still find lightness in it. So I just loved it. I love it. I'm an explorer, so.
You know, for me, I remember Burning Crusade really opened up a new gameplay type for me. I became a collector.
Because clearly,
right, and it kind of started with the Outdoor and Scryer rep. Because I got my Outdoor rep all the way up, and then I was thinking about switching to Scryer, and people were like, "You're insane! Don't do that." And I was like, "I bet I can," just to prove people wrong. And I did, and it was cool. It was really fun. But then I started doing other things. Like there were all these new like mounts and pets, and I went back and even got some of the older reps like Thorium Brotherhood and Winterspring. But then like things like Netherwing Ledge came out. The world just opened up for me in Burning Crusade to really start my collection.
Of course, we also had flying mounts, which I loved, and then decided to play with some friends on a PvP server, and was running around Hellfire, and Death from Above, which is likely just Pat.
Probably.
Yeah.
Were you flying around harassing people, Pat?
I was getting a lot of honorable kills back in the day.
So that's just a quick look at some of our memories for Burning Crusade, and that was 13 years ago. So that code has been hanging around for 13 years. And we're not just doing a save as Burning Crusade Classic.
Oh no, it's a lot harder than that.
So let's get into some of those details.
So one of the challenges has been that we don't actually want to ship on the old code, and the reason for that is because it's got a lot of bugs and difficulties with the architecture that we don't want to have to deal with. But we do want that old data. We talked about this when we did the original launch of Classic, was how the data is really the thing that describes how the game is supposed to be played and what things are supposed to happen in it. And so we want to bring that old data and we want to run it on the modern code, the same as we did for Classic. And there's like 750,000 rows of data that we have to go through and convert from their old formats to their new formats. And fortunately, we have really talented engineers, and we run automated scripts that go through this. But even after we run these scripts, we have to compare them with with how it used to behave and make sure that we've actually done the conversion correctly. And then there's even some things that are making it more difficult this time, like the fact that we've made a couple of minor changes or bug fixes in the Classic data. And we want to make sure that we keep those as we're going into Burning Crusade. So we have to merge those changes with the changes that happened with the Burning Crusade originally, and make sure that we have a coherent set of changes that make sense to bring us from Classic into the Burning Crusade.
There's an enormous amount of time spent looking at, okay, this is how it came out now. We have a reference client that is the original.
That's right. We do use the old code for that. So like we still have it. We just don't want to ship on that anymore. But we have like the old code with the old data, knows exactly how it's supposed to behave. So those things work together, and we can bring that up internally and take a look at it and say like, okay, this is how it was back then. This is exactly what it used to look like. And we do sometimes find things that are bugs we still want to fix, but a lot of times it will tell us like, oh, this thing is not a bug. This is actually the intended behavior, or this is something we don't really remember right. There's a tendency to want to chase your own memory. Like, I remember it being like this. And it's like, no, it's not always exactly the way you remember it. Everybody has that kind of human failing, even us. And so a lot of times we'll have an argument about, I remember it this way. Well, I remember it this way. Let's go and check. We can look.
Well, another reason to ship on the new code is really just the years of stability improvements and the fact that the world didn't look the same back in 2007 as it does today. Like there wasn't cloud architecture at that point. I remember I had the privilege of being on the live ops team where I got to see what all of the servers looked like and how it was all architected. And to pull back the curtain on this a bit, the way it was is everything was its own like server, right? Like they didn't really talk to each other very well. So each realm had 11 blades on it, and these blades were just bare metal blades, and like one blade was for Azeroth, one blade was for Kalimdor, one was for Outland, and then we had some for instances. And you know, back then what would happen without cloud is you would try to request resources, and maybe a lot of people were running dungeons, and so it would give you back things like
recaps.
The only issue I'm having so far, they're talking about the environment setting. They're not talking about the fucking.
You know, we're of the mindset.
I can't wait to spend so much dropping the skybox. I'm like, fire.
This powerful drop down.
To BlizzCon 2. Allow us to invite you behind the scenes to explain more of what we're doing and why.
Everybody, please hit record. Fingers crossed. We lost Scott.
It's off to a good start.
This is going great.
We've been assembling one of the best teams that I have ever worked with.
I'm nervous.
And I'm so proud of the progress that we have made together.
We really liked the stylized drop down.
Imagine that it's coming forward, boom, boom, this starts to spin.
The scale and the scope of this game have meant that we've needed to grow substantially.
We have to.
Oh yeah, now I'm remembering it. They did add.
Let me start.
Overall, I think we've done incredibly well as a team moving to work from home.
It's been a long time.
Oh, shadow play.
There have definitely been challenges, but the team is really putting everything we've got behind this game.
To me, it's the next big step in the Overwatch universe. New heroes, game modes.
She's Canadian?
Big step in the Overwatch universe. New heroes, game modes, major story beats.
Canadian.
With competitive and PvE, I see Overwatch 2 as the Overwatch for all of my friends.
We're always inspired by what story and franchise development does with their animated shorts.
And we'll look at
We really wanted to bring that cinematic experience into the game.
You can invest in your heroes and grow them over time. You can invest in your heroes and
he looks so old in this picture.
Grow them over time. I'm super geeked out about Overwatch 2.
I can't wait for people to play this game. It just gets better and better.
There are some things that we just can't do without a sequel. So thank you so much for your patience so far, and I hope you enjoy this behind-the-scenes look at Overwatch 2. Home, they see one.
I can just talk about anything that I want to.
Yes.
You're serving.
We always want Overwatch to feel like this globe-trotting adventure for our players. So we're having a lot of fun coming up with the Overwatch version of Rome.
We wanted a very romantic, sort of this powerful feeling of old world architecture. One of the most exciting things for me is the early building of these maps, where we get to sit down together with key people from the environment team, level designers, effects groups. We'll spend some time talking about moments in the game that we really want to see, like the Colosseum or a grand view of the hills of Rome in the backdrop. And then we'll go back and do a paint over, or we'll do a concept painting of certain things based on that.
We try to draw inspiration from as many different sources as possible. For example, one of our environment artists had just taken a trip to Rome, and he returned with thousands of pictures and was so excited to work on a map set in Italy.
There's a lot of ancient architecture in Rome that represents the empire that it used to be. So we brought some of that back. Some of the things that are destroyed in real life, we kind of rebuilt in a kind of an Overwatch style.
It's one of the most beautiful pieces of environment art that I think we've made for the entire game, and it just absolutely took my breath away.
Looks like a payload map.
Can we reveal more maps?
Yes, Scott. Scott, why don't you have the honor? Why don't you reveal, is there an artifact? Like, let's pick an artifact one.
I know what map I want to talk about. It's the one that I just get super excited about. New York City. New York City
might not even
is
upload
just
this year.
an amazing Overwatch location.
But
We're really striving to make it as authentic as possible while still putting this Overwatch spin on it.
There's a lot of amazing buildings and architecture pieces that just, especially for artists, stands out a lot. And they usually use this kind of Art Deco style from the 1920s, 1950s.
We started in an area that's a little bit like the Village. There's some smaller shops there. There's a fire station, little pizza places and things that people that are familiar with New York City will either recognize or maybe see the reference that we're trying to make with some of our different locations. It feels like something you haven't seen in other games before because it's uniquely Overwatch.
Okay, I like it.
Well, we should move on. Otherwise, we just have to reveal more maps. So we were talking about PvP, and you know, one thing that I think is really interesting about PvP in Overwatch 2 is some of the philosophical changes we're making to the approach.
PvP feels different and new. We're upgrading our combat feel. The roles are playing differently. When it comes to all new maps, it's a pretty big departure from where we are on live right now. So I can't wait to see where we end up with it by the time we launch this thing.
We're also experimenting with the idea we call role passives, which are passive abilities that a hero can have based on what role they are. For example, currently in our internal builds, the tank heroes all have knockback reduction against them, and they also generate less ultimate charge for enemies that are shooting at them. Damage dealing heroes have a movement speed bonus, which is great for flanking around the map. And healing heroes, support heroes have automatic healing that kicks in after they haven't taken damage for a while, very similar to Mercy's passive, but a little bit of a lower rate.
One of the more shocking changes that we've been exploring in Overwatch 2 PvP is a change to the tank role entirely. That's applied to all of the tanks. We want to try to make them more toe-to-toe brawlers and less characters that just stand back and protect other people.
So, for example, for Reinhardt, we've given him 2 charges of Fire Strike, so he can throw Fire Strikes a lot more aggressively and more often. Also, his charge, he's able to cancel it now, and you can steer it more aggressively, so you can, you know, not quite turn a corner, but you can definitely more accurately pin targets. And because you can cancel it, it allows you to use it much more aggressively and, you know, really go after those key targets without feeling like you're going to sacrifice, you know, all of your positioning, everything to get there. He's almost more terrifying now with his, to be able to unleash his full arsenal more often than kind of just being the guy with a shield.
The changes to Reinhardt that we're trying, and they might not ship, that's just the reality, but the changes that we're trying...
I'm sorry for my language, but why the fuck would you say all this, Dan, if you're not gonna ship them anyways? Like, make it confirmed and make it be official. Like, guys.
Now are to try to embrace more of that instinct that players have when they want to play a big burly character that looks aggressive and feels like it should be aggressive.
Shortly after BlizzCon, we spun up this group, our combat field group, to really just work on what happens when a player holds the trigger.
We're putting a ton of effort into looking at all of our characters and trying to give them even a more visceral weapon feel.
From sound to VFX to animation to the design of these units, all new sounds for a lot of our weapons in the game, and a whole new sound system that's driving it. And we didn't just level up a unit, we leveled up the rest of the game.
No, I told you.
When we first started working on Overwatch, you know, we spent quite a bit of time working on gunfire sounds and just general combat feel to make it feel really awesome. We're revisiting pretty much everything. Nothing's off the table, so we're looking at even kind of small things such as quick melee attacks that every hero has. So they have kind of new audio pass and a new kind of feel and visual effect when you hit things.
One of the bigger efforts we're undertaking for Overwatch 2 is what we're calling our Weapon 2.0 Sound Pass. What this is a big overhaul to the weapon systems in the game. That means the way the gun feels in your hands. You could feel the ammo running out as you're getting lower on the clip. We've really tried to amplify those sounds to better encapsulate the gameplay and the gunplay that comes with Overwatch 2. Another key for the weapons was getting them to feel like they're in the environment. This meant working with convolution reverb. It's a new system that we've implemented into Overwatch. It's a way that we can capture the acoustics of an environment and transport it onto the sounds. Weapon shoots.
That's gonna suck. That's gonna suck also.
And then we've cut them and applied it so that we can urban outdoor, warehouse tales, tight tunnels, small rooms, and it gives
involved a lot of with the chamber. And there's a lot of subtle little tweaks we have to do on the gameplay engineering side to make that feel really visceral. Everything from making sure that the camera shakes are crisp, making sure that if you get shot, you know exactly these tight indicators show up on the outside of your reticle. All these things play into making the game feel not just what we wanted to do in Overwatch 2 with his weapon, was make it really feel incredibly powerful. And that happens with a bunch of different elements that mix together. But it really feels like the gun is almost just outside of your control. A lot of that comes down to this camera shake technology, where every time you fire the weapon, you want to feel like it's running through your entire body. And the camera shake gives that extra bite to every single shot out of the chamber. Like it's running through your entire body. And the camera shake gives that extra bite to every single shot out of the chamber. It makes him feel really great.
Really great. The recoil.
You guys got a sneak peek of Sojourn from last BlizzCon. She's been under development for quite a while, and she's actually quickly at this point become a lot of people's favorites in-house. When we look back at Overwatch when it was originally created, there was a lot of heroes that were made from a gameplay standpoint kind of surrounding a weapon type. For example, Pharah was based on a rocket launcher hero. Widowmaker is clearly like kind of the sniper. We thought there was a weapon that was kind of missing that would be a lot of fun to play with, and that's a railgun. It's so much fun in the playtest to have this really powerful shot that can, rip through enemies if you really are accurate with it. And she's all about that aim skill. So if you got that aim skill, you'll love her.
We're still exploring game modes. Hero missions are probably one of the things that's the hardest to wrap your head around if you've never played one of them.
We already knew about this.
The goal around hero missions is for these to be this co-op PvE experience.
I personally only play competitive mode. Like, I'm all about that competition. And I have friends that they don't want to do that at all. So I'm really looking forward to a game that I can play hours and hours with my friends who aren't in competitive, and it's also something that I'm interested in.
Yeah,
hero missions are the content that people are playing as they are leveling up their heroes. And so for a system like this to really sing, you need a lot of missions. We don't want players to feel like they're just in this grind to get to the top.
And there's a lot of really, really good back-end technology that we're exploring so that the heroes are constantly bringing their personality and some light story to these hero missions as well.
The goal is to make as many as possible, hundreds of hero missions. We've explored a lot of different ways of getting to that much content. So have like different sets of enemy units that people will be fighting against, and there's different hero mission types. At the same time, hero missions can take place in all of the multiplayer maps that we've done, and we're also adding new spaces onto some of these maps.
What is this?
It's a huge challenge for the art team. We take maps that a lot of people love and recognize, and we have to add a lot more art and level design to it.
In this one hero mission playtest, we came up to an area in King's Row that usually has a gate on it. Suddenly that gate opened and I saw a new area of King's Row that I had never seen before.
This is nice.
You may be playing a payload game type, and the payload may decide to take this new route instead of going the usual route.
That was really, really cool.
Lan are the type of a sandstorm on the Temple of Anubis map.
And at the time, we didn't know what we wanted to do with that, but it looked awesome. Technology in place that allows us to do this dynamically. You start the mission off, clear day, midway through the mission, suddenly this sandstorm or heavy weather would show up.
It made the world just feel so much more alive.
With the whole maple?
There's a sunset, daytime, nighttime, but depending on where you are in the world, these look different. California or Hollywood would have what we call a California sun. In New Bonny, there's a great African sun that happens there.
Sorry, this reminds me of the old Rainbow Six Siege. Like, it was always like that dark environment, I really like that too. Not the whole light environments. Those are nice too, but you know, the whole dark and light environment, like, ooh, well done.
Sense of space and mood. This is what really brings the levels to life.
For me, the dynamic world's exciting. Just seeing these dramatic landscapes, the wind and the atmosphere blowing by. It's a much more cinematic experience for the player.
Dynamic weather, dynamic
Before you
settings,
start a mission, you look at a map.
lively,
It's nighttime in Necropolis, or there's a sandstorm in Necropolis. Players can make some comp choices based on knowing this information. Characters like Hanzo or Widowmaker start to be a little more valuable because they have abilities that allow them to see through the sand more clearly.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Are we going to talk about any of the types of objectives in hero missions?
Yeah, let's hero mission to the next, so that players are being asked to do different things from one hero mission to the next, so that they all feel really fresh to the player.
For example, we have Gather and Return, where you're trying to go and grab these different canisters to kind of safeguard them so they don't go off and affect the population in a negative way. It creates this really cool tension in the world where, on the one hand, you're trying to split up and go grab all these canisters to be as efficient as possible, but at the same time, now you're having these sort of special enemy units spawn that are really difficult, and if you kind of get caught by yourself, it turns into a pretty bad situation really quickly, and it feels extremely cooperative and like a very different way to interact with the Overwatch universe.
We're experimenting with all sorts of ideas, and just internally we have...
Also, wait, isn't that Blizzard World?
Cooperative. Experimenting with all sorts of scavenger ideas, and just internally we have names like Wall of Death, Scavenger Hunt, and Kill Quest, and all these new mechanics and enemies for people to experience. Players will be able to jump in night after night, play different hero missions, and then work through the progression system, leveling up their heroes.
Level up heroes in the story missions, I guess?
At BlizzCon in 2019, we started to talk about progression, and it was really hit. We've really
experimenting.
Yeah, the talent system is like really deep and rich, and every single hero has different trees. You might open up 76's tree, and as you're leveling and picking new talents, you're starting to feel your hero change. We've had some pretty hilarious versions of the healing one where his biotic field travels with him. It also repulses enemies. We called it the snowplow build, where 76 is like running through spaces, pushing enemies away from them.
Designing these is super fun because it's like we get to break all the rules that we've sort of established for ourselves, and we get to really take the gloves off and do crazy things like Junkrat can dual-wield grenade launchers, and we've had Mercy be able to area effect res their whole team at once at super long range through walls. It's been a ton of fun, kind of like mad scientists making all this stuff.
You're all used to using these kind of kinetic weapons like Soldier 76's rifle or fire attack like what Reinhardt's Flame Strike does. As soon as you start to mutate these things with talents, all of a sudden maybe you're doing freeze damage or electrical damage. But it gives the animators a bunch of crazy opportunities. You know, the animations are going to change to show them freezing and shattering. And if you shock someone with a lightning attack, they can shake in place and stun, maybe chain to other enemies. All sorts of stuff to make you feel like you're controlling the battlefield in novel ways.
As a huge RPG nerd myself, the first time I opened up the talent tree system, it was like, oh my gosh, this is speaking my love language. Like, I just want to plan, and I want to see, like, where do I want to invest, and how am I going to play this character?
Yes, it's so great. And you start at the bottom of the tree. Like,
yes,
oh my,
exactly.
Like, Tracer gets to do what?
Yeah.
And then you start working and kind of planning how you're going to get down there. It's like, it's so fun.
Yes, it's fun. Enemy units and all subjects. Sorry guys, I have to wear this.
When we look back at BlizzCon 2019 and we talk about some of the criticisms that we had, one of them as a development team that we felt was that the combat was just not engaging enough. So the fact that our combat wasn't highly engaging to us as players meant that we had a problem with the enemy units. And
reading and just
the null sector enemy units.
Ooh, interesting unit. So we already know these guys. That's a bomb carrier by the looks of it. New, already seen, never seen this guy before. Never seen this guy at all. Never seen this guy. I'm not too sure about this guy. Not sure. Holy shit! What the fuck is that?
More engaging. And some of this was adding new units and evolving other units.
So we're just awesome map better.
That's fun.
there is what we internally call objective units, and they're typically units that don't even attack players. The simplest version would be something like the Breacher.
It's two legs with this huge bomb on its back. It was built to do one thing: slowly and methodically march towards its objective, and then it transforms, and the bomb opens up like a flower. It starts spinning and charging up, and you hear this awesome sound, and you know you have a little bit of time before it's going to explode, and you have to take it out.
We have units like the slicers, which you guys have seen before. They're little, we call them the chickens, like little chicken sometimes. They run really fast. You know, we have a guy we're training right now who flies and drops these bombs that create these kind of ever-expanding smoke fields that you have to escape from because they're super deadly. So you really get to use your mobility.
Sorry, Osprey from
the options to kind of escape that.
There's things like the Polar. You could be moving through these darker alleys, and as soon as you hear that Polar spawn, it suddenly becomes like really spooky and kind of scary.
This very tall, elegant-looking character that's blindfolded, 3 orbs that circle around her as her eyes, and we basically spun those orbs around her head as a big tell, launched them at the player, and then it activates this tractor beam, and it's bringing you in, and then you get this awesome like anticipation of the hair opening up, so you know what's about to happen.
Oh, whoa.
One thing we've just recently been experimenting with is this idea of elite units. We didn't want the elite units to feel like they're just, oh, this guy's got double health and double damage. We want to make sure the elite units feel like they have different behaviors and have different attacks. So, for example, an Omnic Grunt, normally he fires his gun, he dies pretty simply.
Okay.
If you fight elite grunts, his weapon fires in a burst fire pattern. It's very deadly if you're close. And if you manage to take them out, they don't just die right away. They instead can crawl on the ground towards you, and you're trying to back away because if they get to you, they can explode.
Oh, they explode too.
Artillery at BlizzCon. We're all just staring at this, and we're like, what are we going to do to level this up? One of the things we really felt wasn't coming through was the damage states. We intend for players to shoot these guns off, but currently it's not reading as something that can happen in the game easily. We change the design, we change the animation, and we go back and forth and just continually iterate. We decided, hey, you know what? We're gonna just delete half of these damage states, so now it's super readable.
From an animation standpoint, we decided on spinning barrel version. Just did this really nice kickback.
Yeah,
the tip of the barrel opens up when it's about to fire and shifts into place and boom!
It's really amazing to be fighting an artillery unit, and you can see the guns on the side. As you're shooting the guns, they're actually visibly taking damage, and then you can blow them off, and it reacts and kind of stumbles to the side, and really makes you feel like you're there, and it's super fun.
In a lot of the stuff we've showed so far, you're fighting null sector. These are evil killing machines intent on marching you down. The way you're going to stop them is by shooting them, and we want to make sure that feels responsive and visceral. Really making sure that when they take a hit, it feels like their whole body has been punched, almost like hit by a truck. That's what really sells this fantasy that you're playing these superheroes. One of the cool pieces of technology that we created was what we call chain hit reactions. Oftentimes you'll find null sector bunched up, marching maybe half a dozen units abreast.
That's always
you expect if you shoot one, they're gonna knock into their buddies. So we make that happen. Turns out it's really fun too.
That looks dope. Not gonna lie, that looks dope.
One of the things that we showed last year at BlizzCon was the new looks for our heroes. The theory kind of going in was like, you want to preserve the essence of your hero, but also kind of show that a hero's evolved and kind of changed and moved forward. So we have a lot more new looks. So I'm excited to see how players and fans react to all of the ones that we've done so far.
Maybe we'll share some of those new looks today, which would be cool.
We're going to reveal McCree's new look for Overwatch 2 as well as Pharah. And we're really excited to show off some of our first villains with Reaper and Widowmaker. But first I wanted to talk a little bit about technical wear, kind of like technical clothing. What that really is using very techie fabrics as well as having very intricate but functional straps designed in a way that is very aesthetically pleasing.
Not too bad.
With McCree, we took a couple of different approaches. He's got this classic cowboy look that it's really hard to mess with because if you try to make him too sophisticated or too techy, it might not feel right for the character. But as a concept artist, you always want to change things around and try different shapes and silhouettes. So we did identify as Red Serape as the main thing for McCree. We also tried a couple different things with McCree's cowboy hat. We didn't really want to mess with that too much because that's a very iconic part of him. So that's another piece that we kept. We tried some retro cowboy looks that mixed in some tech here and there. Some that were a little bit more techy than others, some that were a little bit more classic cowboy.
Like this,
we gave him a little bit
two.
of a longer beard, and it really gives him a nice kind of like a more aged look. What's different about Farah than some of our other heroes is Farah's completely covered in armor. We didn't want to change her silhouette too much. It was more about experimenting on different colors.
Right?
So it felt really appropriate for her to be the one to harken back to those original Overwatch colors of white and blue. One of the things that we wanted to update on Farah was her visor.
Okay, it's not bad.
Instead of being completely opaque and reflective,
I like this.
we tried a little bit more of a transparent approach, and being able to see through it a little bit now allows us to see some more of her emotions. Reaper was actually the ones I was very excited to work on because I could see a lot of potential in how we can integrate his cloak and his cowl and his armor and how we can make all those shapes really sing within that classic Reaper silhouette. We tried a couple takes with the first pass, like pretty sacred to us. But the thing you'll notice immediately is that it's now completely silver. Instead of the bone white, he's got this like almost like deadly edgy silver. That just brings a breadth of ideas. We tried things like Widowmaker. We started with the IDA stage, hunting more cyberpunk looking ones, almost like a futuristic femme fatale, which is basically what Widowmaker is, but she even feels more upgraded. So I'm super glad that we went down this route. We played with different hairstyles too. Widowmaker has the really long ponytail that's really a key part of her look. And we really liked the hairstyle on one of the designs that was more of a parade, and it was really interesting look that also preserves Widowmaker's original silhouette with that long ponytail.
We've been working a lot with our domino engine and making our cloth look better. Now that we have this cloth tech, we're going to be able to we post to these characters, and it's going to feel really cool. It is absolutely worth the time and the effort to invest in the technology, and that way we can make these characters do more things that we haven't really been able to do before.
It's been super exciting working on the new looks for Overwatch 2, and it's just been so inspiring to watch the team try things that we've never tried before, and I just can't wait to show up more in the future.
It's here.
Overwatch 2 is probably the largest opportunity we've had since the inception of the franchise to really expand what Overwatch even means to our players. In 0 Hour, we saw that some of the heroes got back together, but we're also seeing that there seems to be a second huge Omnic uprising. We're gonna learn who's behind that uprising, why that's happening, how globally spread is it.
The story and franchise development group, they were really the torchbearers of what the big story is that we were going to tell for this game.
We have a lot of interaction with them. They're working on in-game cinematic intros and outros for every one of our story missions.
It's been really great to see this collaboration grow and develop. The story is just a little more integrated into our missions than it ever really has been before. All the available heroes get dialogue for a given mission. We have NPCs. We have multiple heroes get dialogue for a given mission.
Look at this. Hold on, I was off the tray. What the hell is this? Get those doors open.
NPCs. We have multiple hero choices.
We have all sorts of events that are happening that are driving players to interact with each other or parts of the environment or other characters.
The world of Overwatch is this bright, shiny future.
Toronto!
So how do you take that bright, shiny future and
Also,
create conflict in it? How dark can the world of Overwatch go?
The different challenges that these characters are going to have to overcome in Overwatch 2 are things that they haven't ever dealt with before or dealt with on this scale. So what we had to do was literally strip it down to those bare bones of where are these characters in their lives. Overwatch has been disbanded, and now there's a situation where the world's in trouble again, and the world needs the heroes again, but they're not allowed to be doing what they were supposed to be doing.
We started to book these off-site locations so we could brainstorm over and over different versions of what the Overwatch 2 story campaign could be.
And we basically had these whiteboards that we were
carting around everywhere.
The room was filled with whiteboards, and we would just write every day story beats with the characters and who was doing what and where. And oh my gosh, we forgot this character.
We had these giant sticky notes, and each one of them would be a mission with a bunch of notes on it. You know, somebody say, well, what if we moved Rio to the end? And they'd physically grab it off the wall and stick it on the end.
And we did this for a while, you know, until we all felt that it was pretty close to what we wanted.
Then we could send it to our writers' rooms. The writers' rooms then had a much clearer direction about where we wanted this process to go.
Ultimately, we come up with something that we think is right for the game, and then we pitch it back to the game team, and they point out everything that we missed.
And that allows us to actually back up and go and make it right and make it better.
Because the scale of this story is so huge, it takes place over the whole world, basically. It just requires a constant iteration, constant refinement to make the story as best as we can make it.
From writing, we go to storyboards. The storyboards get crafted with the edit. From there, it'll go to a previs department where they'll start to flesh it out in 3D. Once we've kind of figured out our camera work and our cinematography, that'll then go to the animation
kind of
department.
like bouncing off each other.
And then we end up going right into the game engine.
One of our challenges was to figure out how to integrate this story and this narrative with the gameplay.
So if the intro cinematic ends with this huge battle, this huge war, when you get into the game, it has to mesh and feel the exact same way and blend together.
We really are also trying to get the music to be equally as consistent from in-game cinematics straight through to the mission. Adam Burgess, our lead composer, has been working with the IGC team, with the game team, developing themes for all of the heroes, all of the locations.
So, yeah, because like Reinhardt tries to kill
director,
Bastion by the looks of
whatever
it.
we're crafting should never override the gameplay. We want to make sure that the player's experience going from the cinematic to the gameplay is seamless and it feels like a completely immersive experience.
The engineers, we have to find a way to actually make that come to fruition. The choreo tool is a tool that allows people to coordinate different events to happen at the same time. Like in Rio, if you played our demo, one of the buildings explodes. And so that kind of event needs to happen as you're running by, and you need to have it timed, because if it blows up too early, then you don't see it. It allows story moments in missions that interact with the environment, that interact with our characters.
The new tech, the new abilities that we have now are allowing us to push our storytelling farther than we could have previously.
What's also really powerful about choreo is that, you know, if somebody has an idea, they can mock things up really quickly.
We got to show the Widowmaker making this awesome introduction. And Casey was able to quickly put a really rough prototype in choreo. And Philip would come in and on the fly, he's making quick changes. They play tested something that would normally take weeks. It was done in like a matter of days.
Each story mission has its own custom map built for it, and these maps are absolutely gigantic.
India is one of our biggest maps, and it's a fun map because it has a few story beats that we've taken from recent comics and characters in the game.
We've written a history for each city so that the cities feel lived in. And I think that informs the artists so that they know like what it is that the city has been through.
Gothenburg was our chance to show Torbjorn's workshop. We created a space that kind of fits his height. So there's, you know, step ladders and scalable tables. We designed the space as if we were Torbjorn. Molten steel is pouring out of walls. It's pretty epic when you walk into it. Toronto was under siege by Null Sector when the players arrived here. There's a dynamic snowstorm. So as you make your way through the level, the snow is slowly building up. Suddenly by the end, the characters are caught in this gigantic snowstorm and they must fight their way through.
In Overwatch 2, we want to give you choice to be able to play this character or that character. So we're designing a lot of systems around how their relationships develop over the course of the story missions in the campaign.
We have a cast of many characters, all on screen, all at the same time. And it's fantastic to actually see them all interacting and working together in ways that we've never actually seen. We've always thought about it and hoped for it, but now it's actually happening.
It actually requires us to have a whole new branching dialogue system. If you happen to have Genji and Mercy in the second mission of the game, you might get different dialogue that's about their relationship.
The multiple playthrough.
Our voice actors bring the characters to life in ways that everybody has fallen in love with, from inside Blizzard to the fans. To just hear this collection of actors all together, all interacting, has been a real treat.
Ryan has
I wish people could see how many people are involved when it comes to something like telling the story of Overwatch. It doesn't just come from a singular person. It comes from a group,
they're gonna kill that
and it's a really talented, fun group that all works together.
We've been developing what we hope is one of the best stories ever. And, there's some, and I really can't wait to see how people react to it.
No, so it's good. Never mind.
We've been talking about the game, about this universe. I know you all love it so much.
Right now, we can sit down and have a night of Overwatch 2 and have it be a really fun experience. And I think we need some more time till we can say it's perfectly polished in the way that we want it.
All right.
We've made such incredible strides since we first announced this and showed it to the community at BlizzCon in 2019.
The thing that I'm most excited about is that moment when we hand the game over to the players.
Last time I seen
want to create something that really moves people, really touches people.
That's why we do it. We create the game because we want it to become part of your life, and for you to experience it.
For Overwatch 2, we're upping the bar.
It's kind of 5 games in one. It's a huge undertaking.
The new tech and the new aesthetics for the new looks bring you closer to the characters that you love, and we're just getting started.
The fidelity of the gameplay experience is much richer.
We are making cinematics that push the boundary of what we can do to tell stories.
We want this dynamic world. We want things to feel alive.
That's great.
I'm really looking forward to being able to expand the world of Overwatch for our players.
I understand getting more time.
We're really trying to tell this epic story.
But when exactly?
In order to make a game great, it takes time, energy, collaboration.
We have just an incredibly professional team of designers and artists
I'm
and
happy
engineers.
I
we
love
get to
bringing
see
this
more
world to you guys.
details.
So many cool characters. It's just a blast working on it.
Our goal is for Overwatch 2 to be the worthy successor to the first game, to be the next evolution, and to be a true sequel.
We have big plans. So thank you for sticking with us.
We're going to cross the finish line, and I know it's going to be awesome.
I hope people just end up loving playing it over and over.
That's what we want to try and capture.
I don't know,
I'm
man.
jumping in. I'm
Recently,
playing.
there's been a lot
Let's
of
go
pixels.
be heroes.
So I don't want to run to that. I don't want that. I want something to be good, and I think that's it. Oh, nope, I take it back. Oh. Line out the gym raid. Plus 3 golden loot boxes. Available now, unlocking in-game.
Dolby is a proud partner of BlizzCon and
Let
me show you how it's done.
Looks nice skin. That's a very nice skin.
Turning up the heat.
Ooh.
I'm ready. Give me your best shot.
Black Swan.
새해 복 많이 받으세요.
You can't catch me!
I've got you in my sights.
Now we're moving!
There ain't mine, ain't it, I?
Lights out. I've still got it.
Okay, I see what that looks like. It's like Juggernaut, I think, per se. And that's pretty much it, guys. That was
the BlizzCon here. I
Let me use
one guest on the oh my god, I love it. You're one had love with buddy. Yes. Hello everyone. Yeah. Family other talk about
anything
you know me.
The pandemic. He's
Bill.
What are you doing?
Well, but it actually, because I've lived out of my car for so long. And so this has been really nice. I like being at home, growing food and, you know, just It's been a real blessing, and like you, getting into all the stuff that
my spoon
was
went inside
a passion
soup.
for me early on. Any kind of music or films or
What was your favorite? What are you listening?
Well, I love the David Byrne stuff that you're talking about, but but there's
American Utopia.
Yeah, all of that.
So good.
But there's just so many things. So it's been a blessing.
I miss seeing you at the gym.
I know. I miss it. We both lived downtown, and we would catch each other at the Y. It was very, very cool.
Wow, Soldier 76 and Reinhardt working out?
Yeah, we're actually working out at the Y.
Because I want to go there whenever this
We
is.
did. I used to live around the corner from college.
Yeah,
So there's always this little world of
And
fun.
I would see him walking down the street
Which
to
is not
the
bad,
gym.
but
Wow.
we're gonna quickly
3
look into-
Overwatch characters in
in
living
this one
clothes.
little area. I know, it's pretty funny. Yeah.
Tell me what the interaction was like between soldiers.
Diablo next.
them together and it essentially unlocks a secret.
You just started.
Sorceress, kind of a return.
Oh, shit.
There's the rain of arrows off the mount for the win, and then when that guy takes the ear and he stretches it onto that hook right at the end, it's like, oh.
That ear box never gets old. You know, I always wonder where all those ears from Diablo 2 when you kill other players went.
Now you know there's some creepy guy in a church collecting ears and putting them in a box. Just what we always thought.
No spoilers, but we're going to be hearing a little bit more about World PvP a little bit later in the segment, but ears are definitely making a comeback. But let's go back to the class, because there's just nothing more exciting to be able to introduce to a Diablo game than another class for players to check out.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool thing. We don't get to do this very often, right?
I think it was you that said that, John. There's always room around the campfire.
There's always a little room.
We had kind of like a very core archetypes to begin with.
10 years,
the brute strength of the barbarian, the arcane knowledge of the sorceress,
And I don't consider
kind of a
Diablo
return
more
of a shape-shifting classic with the druid. No RPG lineup is complete without that dexterity class that's kind of like defeating enemies with finesse, with speed. And we kept coming back to just the idea of bringing it to the kind of the godfather of all dexterity-based archetypes, the rogue that we saw in Diablo 1.
I mean, you got to be excited to have the rogue back. I mean, I know that like when we were exploring different classes, like you had talked about some of your experience with Diablo 1, right?
Oh, for sure. So one of the things that's super cool is like the rogue was always able to adapt their playstyle. So fans of Diablo 1, Diablo 2 rogues will be able to create very archetypical rogues, starting with the weapon selection. On the melee weapon side, rogues can use swords and daggers, as well as bows and crossbows on the ranged side.
To be honest, I'm
you know, just those sort of dagger attacks mixed with bow attacks, it's like, it just looks great on screen. With all the classes having this real strong identity as far as the animations and what they do, you think about the druid and shape-shifting, or the barbarian with sort of, you know, his leap attacks. There's just all these great things that you discover with the rogue that you can't really do with other classes.
I love that you can start cosmetically from such a iconic place where you're wearing the red armor, you kind of look like part of the sisterhood of the Sightless Eye from the original games. You know, you can maybe even add some tattoos into the mix, some scars, make that rogue your own. Or if your fantasy of the rogue is a more traditional RPG outlaw, you're definitely able to create that and put on your kind of hood and half mask and be more of a shadowy character.
Yeah, and the character customization, you kind of mentioned it, being able to craft that, you know, that the class of your dreams or your nightmares. It was a feature that I was honestly super nervous about when we started, because we've never had this in a Diablo game, but seeing really where it is now is one of those things that like I'm super excited about with where we're at. There's just a lot of creativity and fun looks, and you can be that you know, tattooed criminal outlaw, or you can be a more noble looking kind of, you know, sort of like thief with good morals.
Well, one of the things that we kind of kept running with beyond just the cosmetics was customization. We had this niche to fill in the class lineup that spoke to the finesse player, to the dexterity player, and just that everyone's idea of what that could be was a little bit different, whether it leaned more on range or melee. But we took that a little bit of a step further. We really wanted to have each class in our game
just have that one thing that makes you go like, that's bullshit when you see a player use it, and then makes you want to re-roll that class because no other class gets it. For the rogue, it's the class specialization. The three specializations are combo points, Shadow Realm, and exploit weakness.
I like Shadow Realm because I take the problem and I make it smaller. I mean, it's just I just pull 3 guys into the Shadow Realm and duke it out, and then I come back in. I'm like, all right, smaller problem.
I love the idea of exploit weakness. The way it works is during some of the enemy attacks, players will see an icon flash over the enemy's head, during which time they will get to retaliate with much more damage than an ordinary attack. If you're quick on the draw, this is the specialization for you. I'm just like a little bit skill capped there, and you know, like every time I try to make it work, I'm just a little bit shy of the skill level that's required for that.
It's almost like you're a surgeon, and it requires a really strong ability to assess what's happening all around you.
My personal favorite is the combo point specialization. As you might expect, this ability lets you build multiple combo points, which enhance your spender's effectiveness in combat. It basically, you just like get into this rhythm of combat of like 3 builders to a spender, lets you build up to these big moments. It almost makes like a rhythm game out of combat, which I really enjoy. And the way the class specializations work is you will work with one of the world groups of rogues around the world in Sanctuary that you will find and do class-specific quests that no other class can do. Whether it's the Sisterhood of the Sightless Eye, the remnants of that order that you choose to work with, or the mercenaries of Kyrgyzstan, or the outlaw smugglers of the swamps of Hawazar, depending maybe on what speaks to your class fantasy, or depending on which specialization speaks to you or you find more powerful, you'll be able to complete that quest line and then activate that specialization, which then you can mix and match with any of the playstyles. So you could be a combo points, ranged, or melee player, but you could also be an exploit weakness, range, or melee, or hybrid player. It just gives the class such huge variety in builds and playstyles.
I love how that ties into the open world aspect. You know, the ability to go to Kyrgyzstan or Hawazar and get these special quests that only the rogue can get. That touches on one of the things that I love that we've done, which is like connecting the weapons and equipment to regions. When you're exploring the world and you pick up a sword in Kyrgyzstan, it's a scimitar, right? If you're up in Skazglan, which is up in the north, it's more of like a broadsword. You know, it's this sort of like this, it's a subtle thing, but I think it really, you know, different armors that you get in different regions look like they're from the place. And so giving that sense of place in the world is something that I every time I play the game, I feel it, I see it in just like subtle ways, and just really enhances the overall sense of immersion and experience. And I just want to see what's around the corner.
The weapons are also like, going back all the way to Diablo 2, just such an integral part of the class, and the ability to augment your weapon through magic, through enhancements, is just something that really spoke to us when we try to tap into the core of the class. Going back to those mercenaries that you could hire, it was always kind of cool to see what kind of special arrow shot they would come with. And it's something we paid homage to with the imbue system. All the way from directly elemental imbues like the frost imbue, which feels a lot like the ice arrows that the D2 mercenaries used to shoot, all the way to we expanded it to feel a little grittier, a little darker, into things like poison imbue and shadow imbue. Just the ability to take any sort of attack and kind of mix and match with those imbues.
Once that kind of clicked for me that I could take any ability and imbue it with you know, either of those elements. Rain of Arrows with frost and Rain of Arrows with acid is completely different, right? Like you're essentially freezing the battlefield, and then I just love poison imbue because of the gruesome deaths that all the monsters experience. And we've had a ton of fun making that art, so it's always fun to kind of see the, you know, just a field of Gilman melt into nothing. You know, you just kill everything on the screen in a gory mess, which I never really gets old.
It's a really flexible way to take a build that you're already comfortable with, that you already like. Say you're really comfortable with Flurry and Shadow Step as kind of your melee skills, and you find yourself needing more crowd control. Without changing your playstyle, you can just add the frost imbue to your bar, and now you're able to use those same abilities to slow down enemies or build up to a full freeze,
Yeah, and Frost and View plays pretty well with group play as well, right? You know, where I can freeze an enemy and somebody else can blow it up.
Or also the way that chills work in the game, they build up to a full freeze. So if your best buddy is a sorceress player, your chill spells and your Frost and View chills will actually build up faster than if you were using a single player. So just ask to open with Blizzard before you Frost and View, and you'll basically freezing enemies twice as fast, which is super awesome synergy. So the last thing that's worth spending some time talking about the Rogue is like how mobile the class is, just how able the class is to kind of close the gap between themselves and the enemy. Even while they're mounted, you might find yourself, a full screen away and just dismounting into a rain of arrows, closing the rest of that gap with maybe like a dash, and then getting back out of there, dropping some caltrops. They can basically control the fluid motion of combat in a way that no other class can. That's something that beyond all of the other customization options that you have, whether it's the play style, whether it's the range at which you engage with enemies, whether it's the cosmetics, just the sheer mobility of the class lets you just adapt to the situations. Even when you would have totally been toast as another class, a room full of elites, you're able to use offensive abilities in creative ways. Abilities like Shadow Step, right? Like abilities like Shadow Realm, abilities like Dash. So you're able to kind of like use them to your advantage in a way that gets you out of a very dangerous situation by picking that one lone skeleton archer that maybe is not surrounded by everything else. You can Shadow Step there, get out of the way, and live to fight another day, which just feels like such a Rogue thing to do.
When I play the Rogue, I really do feel like surgical precision. I really feel like I can move through the whole screen without. It feels kind of effortless and almost sometimes a little unfair. It's like when I go into Shadow Realm and I'm dashing, I'm like, am I cheating? Did I just break the game?
And we'll hear more about PvP in a little bit, but I just couldn't go without mentioning that some of our most feared PvP players on the team play Rogue, and just the way they're able to like surprise you. You might be with a group of friends, and just that mobility lets them go to the middle of the group, unleash a rain of arrows that's frost imbued, and before you know it, you're all frozen. And looking at a Rogue while you're frozen, let me tell you, there are fewer scarier things in our game right now than that.
So Luis, this was this was like the ultimate blog post. This has been a lot of fun getting to share a new addition to the campfire. And of course, there's probably going to be more in the future, right? We always say there's a little bit more room around that campfire.
That's right. And that pretty much wraps it up for the Rogue. So why don't we go to Joe and Karina and learn a little bit more about those open world features that we promised.
Oh, fuck.
Well, thank you to Luis and John for introducing the best way to what do you...
I love exploring and looking out into every single nook and cranny. The more this game has been growing, particularly since last BlizzCon, the more fun I am having just riding around the open world on my mount and exploring everything I possibly can.
Yeah, it's really fun, I think, now that we've kind of taken Sanctuary and just made it so much larger when you're playing through the game. When you compare it to like Diablo 3 or Diablo 2, there's tons of like exploration and movement throughout the world in those games, obviously, but now that we've really been able to embrace the open world concept, we can really dive much deeper into like how does Sanctuary actually all fit together, like be able to ride from Skosland to the Fractured Peaks, like it's very, very interesting that way. One of the things about that I think is really neat is the collection aspect of mounts. So there's all these horse breeds and other mounts you can find throughout the world, from completing puzzles or just finding hidden locations or slaying certain particular kinds of monsters. Find various horses or things to customize your horse with, like horse armor. There are hoof plates you can get and trophies to show off your accomplishments. There's lots of different ways to make sure that you can personalize your mount, make it really feel like it's your companion.
Yeah, and it's really cool that like you mentioned with the horseshoes, you get to actually change the speed at which your horse can run. And it's something I like, to be able to customize the horse to the type of gameplay that I like to enjoy as a player. And it's really, really fun. I like the amount of variety that you give us.
And I mean, there's more to mounts than just that as well. So like one thing we know we didn't want to do with mounts in Diablo 4 is we didn't want to have like jousting, this idea of like fighting from horseback. It's not really the Diablo experience, right?
Yeah, that's something I'm super excited for. Like we showed last BlizzCon, we had the sorceress. We showed her dismount skill, Ice Dash, where she shoots forwards off her mount and destroys everything in her path. Well, with the rogue, we got to have a little bit more fun with it, and the animation department has done a fantastic job of having her leap up into the air and fire down like the rain of arrows that destroys everything. It's really, really cool. It feels really good.
The idea of like leaping from your saddle and just raining arrows down on your enemies as you pass by, getting down the fray and then starting to like stab people and poison people, like that is spot on what we're looking for. Being able to jump in, engage with enemies from your horse, and then just fight it out, duke it out using your skills and everything else like we want.
It's interesting that your mount can't get damaged, but if a monster actually attacks you while you're mounted, you will actually be forced to dismount. So there is a damage, but if a monster actually attacks you while you're mounted, you will actually be forced to dismount. So there is a flip side of actually judging for yourself when you do want to use that skill in order to prevent you from being forced off unintentionally.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of gameplay there to make sure that you're using it in a way that is most appropriate to help you get where you're trying to go, and also fight the monsters you want to fight. One of the things I'm most excited about for the open world right now is this feature we have called camps. So camps are basically these strongholds of evil out in the overworld.
Sorry, what are they called?
I'm most excited about for the open world right now is this feature we have called camps.
Camps.
Throughout when Malthael rose to power, the Reapers killed like 9 out of 10 people throughout Sanctuary. Like a tremendous number of people passed away. Now there's a big power vacuum out here, you know, decades later. And these monsters have started to move into these places. Bandits, monsters, goatmen, all kinds of different creatures, skeletons, the undead, have started to like resurface and come back into these areas and start to take them for themselves. You, as the hero of Sanctuary, get to kind of wander through these spaces and begin to reclaim them for the people of Sanctuary. That's part of what makes them really, really neat. Each of them have their own story. They're their own unique, fixed place in the world.
Unlike quests, quests are something that happens randomly in the world, and you can come across them anyway. Camps are a permanent fixture that you, as the player, when you come across that evil, you can actually have a real impact on the open world that everyone else can see, because once you have defeated that evil, one of the really fun things is that you basically unlock that camp and you make a new waypoint that previously didn't exist for yourself, but like suddenly all the marketplaces open up and now you have a blacksmith vendor in a location that previously didn't exist, which I think is really, really cool.
Now, what we're looking at here, this was a village, the village of Karayisu, which now has fallen to ruins. You know, the people here in the Dry Steppes had a problem. The problem was there were bloodthirsty cannibals that dwelled nearby and would regularly raid their community. And the people had to come up with a solution. They weren't strong enough to defend themselves from these cannibals, so they made a dark bargain with a demon. And they were able to gather enough power to push these cannibals out and protect their community, but not without great cost, as we can see here. You're kind of helping resettle parts of Sanctuary in many ways when you take these camps back from the enemy. Vendors will come back, and now suddenly there might be like new quest givers, new stories that need to be told. Dungeon entrances can appear in some of these places afterwards. Like there's all kinds of things that occur after you take over the camp and liberate it from these forces of darkness. And again, it's just so cool to see you permanently change the world as you find these places and kind of wander through and solve these problems. One of the other neat things about camps, and in general, like the overworld, just broadly speaking, is we have so many more opportunities now to kind of play with movement.
It pushes the bar vertically as well as horizontally, and we now have been playing around with the idea of jumping across chasms to allow the player to get access to a location that they previously didn't have.
There's all kinds of areas for players to like find their own path, allowing them extra movement options they haven't had in previous Diablo games.
We are also in a vertical top-down camera for the environment, and so it really breaks up the plane that you typically see as like not only as a developer, as an animator, but also as a player. There's such a huge variety of things that you can possibly do to mix it up and make things a little bit different. There's like certain puzzle elements to it. That it's not so straightforward and not always obvious. So it's not just a matter of running through the world and getting, to your goal. It's you have to think about it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Karina, I know that you're very excited about PvP.
I'm a huge fan of PvP. I
Not a huge
love
fan.
the first time that we all actually had a chance to, as a whole team, play PvP, because the amount of feedback that generated. I think it took design like 3 days to go through it all. And what that showed me is that I find everyone they either love it or they hate it. And I personally love it. I really enjoy it. So the way that PvP works is that the hatred of Mephisto has been bubbling up from hell and has created these areas in the open world that you can freely walk into that kind of consumes you and makes you turn against your fellow players.
PvP, even in these areas, these fields of hatred, right? Even in these spaces, it's not like mandatory. So these are optional places players can choose to go to kind of collect shards of hatred that they can collect from like killing monsters, from completing events, opening chests, all kinds of ways to earn these things, not necessarily just killing players. And as you earn these shards of hatred, they're kind of in an unpurified state. They're in a basic state. You need to bring them to a purification event in order to turn them into a currency that you can then use in the nearby like small encampments around the fields of hatred. And what's really neat about that is that when you're trying to purify these things, that's when everybody nearby finds out and hears like, oh, okay, well, someone's actually trying to complete a purification ritual. We need to go and kill those players and take all of their shards before they finish. But once you purify them, they're yours. You can't lose them. But before they're purified, they're free game.
Yeah, I think it's really important to note that, like,
kind of like
even if you don't want to engage with other PvP players, you can actually explore those areas and collect the shards of hatred from specifically monsters. But the second you need to then turn them in and purify them into a currency where you can spend them on gear, trophies, and other content, you actually are hostile yourself and actually can be attacked during that single moment. But I think that really creates a lot of opportunity for you to team up with friends for just that one little moment in order to gain the reward that you spent so much time collecting.
So you called out earlier that the shards of hatred are used for like some of the vendors you can find in the fields of hatred. There are some special vendors that only kind of arrive in these areas. They'll have special costumes or new mounts and weapons and things along those lines. Nothing that's like strictly more powerful than stuff you can get in other parts of the game, but stuff that really like speaks to your desire as a PvP player. And I think one of the things that's really kind of neat about the system in general is that as a player, if you choose to go hostile, betray other players that are near you, try to get as many shards of hatred as you can, you're going to slowly begin to kind of like infuse yourself with that same curse of Mephisto. And you're going to become a vessel of hatred. Now, once you do that, everyone within a very large radius of you is going to be able to see you as a threat on the map. And they're going to get a bonus for killing you.
Very
so when that occurs, you have a set amount of time you need to survive. And if you're able to do that without running away or jumping in a town portal and trying to escape, if you're able to do that and finish that period and manage to escape or defeat your people who are coming to try to destroy you, you're going to get a really big bonus at the end. And that's been really, really exciting to watch in our playtests already as people are like, kind of wrestling for this status and then trying to defend it once they actually achieve it.
Yeah, and there's also the ears that you get to collect as a trophy. It harkens back to
I
D2,
knew that.
where I think you
As
could
soon as I see that
sell the
freaking
ears
ears, I
for
knew that
1
was gonna
gold.
be
I don't know if we're going to be doing that. I know we were playing around with them as a currency at one point, but I think right now it's just a cool trophy that you get to collect and show off.
Yeah, right now, very, very cool trophy. The thing that's really neat about the Diablo 2 ears, like you can fill up your whole inventory with them, obviously. But being able to see like the people that you took the ears from, like seeing their character names on there, was always like the interesting fun part, kind of like proof like, yeah, I got that person that time, right? So we want to make sure that we embrace that aspect of it. That's the important part for us. I think that's going to be a really, really great callback to Diablo 2 PvP.
Right, yeah. So I love where PvP is going, and I love that it is such it's only...
There's so much Diablo Washington.
Saw it with something in the morning, and you think...
About D3D break. So no announcement of the... I was bummed because I'm like, no.
Sorry, I'm not interested in that. Let's go to strategy, guys. One last thing to go for.
Yeah, I mean, it can be done, especially with players.
Opening ceremony. StarCraft Legends.
Scene, so we're with a ahead of
And then Undira.
and all not heal itself, and so usually in a rush, it's the first target that you're going to be trying to go for. We
Very
have
old classic
the Dragoons
StarCraft.
being
Yes.
microed as hard as they possibly can to try to hang on here, but this is so much damage coming here
Oh
from
my
both
gosh.
Guardian and MC.
There's just
almost
so
put
many
myself on
Zots
spice.
getting into
My
his
nose will be all
base. This
spicy.
could be very, very bad for Team StarCraft 1. The StarCraft 2 players really showing them how it's done. But there is that counterattack going on. It looks like Stork has sent all of his Zealots into MC's base over at the 3 o'clock position.
very
Now
fulfilling.
look at this, parting, getting his Zealots into the mineral line. But a nice drill there from Rain.
Beautiful drill on the left side. MC.
To be honest, not too interested
but
in watching right
control
now.
that.
I just want to see.
Start. Each of the... How many StarCraft 2?
Are very immediately
Flying really
lap into it.
Any new content?
Really get
teams coming up, trying to pick off.
two bad hatch, buddy. No hours. The fact that's
And he's got a siege tanks.
That's right.
And now here he is going into nukes for us.
So, siege tank drops here. This is not long for this world. As mutas are out. I was wondering what the theory was, but I guess he's just trying to be active there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some spots on BGH once you get additional bases up
We didn't
here
know
where you
what's
can
coming
nuke
from
from a distance.
Here's
But
Hearthstone.
we're going to end up in a TVZ fight here where it's Nesty diving on top of MVP with these Mutalisks wiping out these Goliaths.
Yeah, those
805,
mutas, though,
wow.
they can definitely get some real damage done.
Sorry guys, I'm just checking what's going on right now. Looks like that's gonna be it, guys. Kind of. I was hoping for more on the strategy side, but just that's it. Not showing. Just showing collections. Tour the online art. Take a tour. Showing the best and stunning art. Cool. The hunt is on. Gather answers from contests across BlizzCon. Enter one virtual scavenger hunt. Celebration just in time for BlizzCon. Make a truly epic anniversary with one of the 3 caches in the game. Have the in-game goodies. Here, Hearthstone. Here's the Storm, I'm guessing. Possibly Here's the Storm. Overwatch. These 2 looks like from WoW. Yep. Nothing for StarCraft? Or unless that's for StarCraft. Possibly. In that case, yeah, Hearthstone, StarCraft, Icon, if I guess player icon. That's gonna be it. Really, that much is known? Let's see if they have, okay, now that it's done, I'm gonna search it up. Overwatch 2 release date. Did they announce it? No, actually, no, there was a lot of stuff. Surprisingly. Yes. Yeah, the map looks beautiful, by the way. Oh, I can't wait to get my hands on this. Overwatch 2 PvP changes. Let's quickly just look at this. Sojourn will be nice. Interesting for Canadian to be using a railgun. Something that we're not investing in. I mean, maybe Navy, but I'm not sure about the Navy whole part. Hero mission mode. Yes. Watch 2 campaign details. I'll watch 2 hero progression. By the way, very... Yeah, I think they're only for PvEs. Makes sense, because I think I'll be way too OP. This freaking puller, man. Very scary. The way she just pulled, yeah. Oh, that part. Huge fan of the, what do you call it? Canada one? Yeah, I don't think they announced it. Days of February 19th. 13, yeah, that's still the only reason. I mean, I already seen that one. Yep, that looks like it's it. I think until more detail comes out, well, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'm probably going to be streaming at around 9 again. Just want to, you know, enjoy this beautiful soup. Although very spice kick soup. That's I hope to that, you know, I really hope that Overwatch and Diablo 4, I'm sorry, Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 be good, really. Obviously no other news for StarCraft, Heroes of the Storm and Warcraft. That kind of sucks, not gonna lie. But again, it's gonna also go for tomorrow. Maybe they'll announce some more tomorrow. But sadly, I won't be reacting tomorrow because, yeah, I have to be doing something else. Yep. I just really hope something good. Please, I beg of you. I want to be able to play Overwatch consistently. There's really been no new character. The only one that came out was Echo. And that's freaking long time ago. More than a year, I think, or 2. Anyways,